Okay. All right, so I will call to order the August 15th, 2022 Caroline County Broadband Advisory Committee meeting. Working down, David, I think you have the agenda shared there. So the first thing we'll do is everybody should have gotten this agenda earlier today. Are there any amendments that we need to make to this agenda? All right. Hearing no amendments or any changes that we need to make, we'll stand that the agenda stands as written. We will dispense with the meeting, reading of the minutes from the July meeting. If you need to hear those or want any information on that, you can go back and watch the live stream on YouTube. So we will move to old business. David, do you want to update us on the railroad crossing?
Yeah, so basically we're at about the same place we were last time. The documentation's been submitted to CSX and in final review. Still waiting for the issuance of the permits, which we have not received.
Okay. All right, well, that was a quick one. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move down to the next. Do you want to give us an update on our Vati 2021 grant?
Yep, and this is not quite
21 or 22?
21.
21. So Vati 2021, just remember that it's like goes by the fiscal year. So I think it was actually, it's going on right now being constructed. So where we're at with that, they continue to dodge supply chain issues. We're still having trouble getting pedestals and manholes. However, as of today, there has not been an extension filed, so the project still appears to be on schedule. The biggest challenge is going to be getting the final manholes and pedestals in time to get the Port Royal side of the project completed. However, it is currently on schedule. If we do have to apply for an extension to the Vati grant, that will need to be done by October. So we'll be watching it over the next month or so to see if we can anticipate delivery of those items. Just remember too that the majority, probably 95% of the underground is completed on all three projects, and even higher some on this side. However, on the west side, the Vati and Panola projects probably have more than 95%. So the way it works is once the underground conduit is in place, then they can come back. Once they have the manholes and pedestals in place, they'll pull fiber into that conduit, splice it. They'll go out and test it. And then once they do the final testing, they turn it over to sales. And at that point, the project is considered complete. I think we have a deadline, or the deadline that we've been discussing was the end of January 2023. So hopefully by that time or even earlier, the construction will be complete of all the main lines, and they'll turn it over to sales where they'll start knocking on doors. So just because the project is showing complete by the end of January, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will be hooked up. The construction will be complete and they'll be knocking on doors at that point. So the actual installation of fiber to the home actually begins at that point. So as of right now, we're still on schedule, and we'll keep you updated as far as, what the supply chain issues are doing. But for now, we're good.
Okay. Any questions for the 2021? All right. It's definitely exciting, David, to hear the word that they are pedestals and fiber in the ground and things of that nature. It's actually pretty exciting to hear that that project's going on. So thank you for that update.
I would agree, Jason. It is exciting over the 4 counties, because just remember that the Vati 2021, we were part of a regional application with 3 other counties. The numbers, they are starting to turn up some customers in a few of the other counties, but the numbers are still small right now. And I'll be really excited when they start turning up customers in Carolina. So we're getting closer.
All right. Hearing nothing else, I guess that puts me on the spot now, David, with the Starlink update. So at this point, I can kind of say I've been running off of Starlink now for several months, working from at home, streaming television over the internet, things like that. I run periodic speed tests throughout the day. The other day, I got a speed test of 283 meg down over 32 megs up. So that was really nice to see that. Again, that was short-lived because later on I ran another speed test. You know, be that as it may, I was down at 150, 130 megs, but still seeing those numbers going up, that's really good. A couple things have transpired this past month as I'm following the Starlink news pretty closely. They launched 5 launches this week, or since our last meeting, with an average, I'm going to say an average of around 50 some odd satellites on each launch. There was one that they only launched up 43. There was one that they launched 60 something. So we'll say an average in the 50s. So they threw up anywhere from 250 to 295 satellites over the past month. They currently have 5 launches scheduled between now and the next broadband committee meeting that we have in September. So they continue to throw up more satellites. Really what we're waiting for is the Starship to be launched, to be able to, for them to put up the new Gen 2 version of the satellites. Right now they're putting up Gen 1.5, which has laser link between the actual satellites to increase or decrease the latency and increase the speed. With that, once they get up to Gen 2s, it's the equivalent of having a network operations center inside of the satellite itself. So it will be less reliant on ground stations on Earth. It'll be able to beam that across and get you the quickest to where you need to go. So that once they get Starship up, which is they had scheduled it for sometime earlier this month. There was a mishap on the launch of it or the testing of it. So they are hoping to have it by the end of the year to get that that Starship launched. So they can start getting version 2 of the satellites up there. I ran a speed test just before this meeting, and I believe I was around 180 over 15 or something like that. So pretty good pings even now during what they consider their peak times. I do see a degradation in service around 6 o'clock until about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Obviously, more people on the network, you're going to have slowdowns. Those slowdowns bring me down to about 20 meg. I have very few outages, but with that being said, there are some blips as you switch between satellites. So it is not a flawless system, but it is definitely a good gap system at this point in time. There are rumors, well, I won't say rumors, there was an email sent out over in France 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, where they are starting to put data caps on Starlink at this point in time. This is something that is rolling out as a beta system over in France. They are cutting the cost of service in half. So I don't know what it is over there in euros, but we'll say you have $100 service, they're cutting it down to equivalent of $50 of service, but they're limiting your data to 250 gigs of prime data. After that, they're taking kind of the telco, cell phone, hotspot inner workings where they limit or they throttle your speed based on the load on your satellite at that point in time. Very similar to what your cell phone does is once you go over a certain amount of data, based on the congestion on that cell phone tower, they can actually throttle back your service. You can purchase in France, and again, I'm going off of an email that I got a hold of that was sent over there. For an extra $10, you're able to purchase another 100 gigs of prime data. So all said and done, if they cut your service in half, you basically have the equivalent. If you purchase, let's say it's $50 and you had a $100 service, you would buy another 500 gigs to break even to where you were before they cut it in half. So you would end up about 750 gigs worth of data before you're truly throttled if you purchase that extra data. So that is something that's currently in the beta works. I have not heard any rumblings of it coming to the United States, but that is something that is going over there that I'm keeping a close eye on to see how that works. One of the other pieces of information that I've come upon as I've been looking on the internet, it was released in the news that Starlink had lost a certain amount of, oh shoot, what's the acronym, David? I've got Vati on my mind right now. RDOF, that's it. They lost a substantial amount of money in RDOF federal funding. There's no there hasn't been any press conference on why they lost it. This was something that I saw, I believe it was on one of the news outlets online, like CNBC or one of the news outlets that gives some of the tech information. But if you go out there and look online, you can look for Starlink and RDOF funding, and you can read the article behind that and get more information on it. So I don't know how that's going to play out. That just happened last week I think it was last Thursday that happened. But I did want to make everybody aware of that. So I do not know whether any of the funding that they lost directly affects Virginia or Caroline County. I don't know whether that level of detail has been given out, but this was a very, very high level document that I saw this in.
I have a question about the data throttling, if you have a second. So in Europe, where they're starting the data throttling, are they offering this as a lower cost alternative package, or is it going to be the only option available?
From the email that I saw, and again, I'm going based off the email that I saw and have researched, it's basically the way that it's going to be. You are being opted into this beta program. And if they determine that this is a good program to be in, then that's what I'm guessing, would flip everybody over to. It would not be hey, I want to stay on this version versus being on this throttled version.
What kind of data are you using a month streaming 3 TVs?
I think last time I looked on my gateway, I was using about 600 gigs, something around that. And so that's my,
okay. Just trying to put it into context.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not just streaming 3 TVs. That's, working from at home on VPN, my son doing schoolwork on the internet, my wife, doing, her work on the internet, Facebooking, all of that type of stuff, around 600 to 650 gigs.
Yeah, I hate to even mention this because of the number of people that are struggling to get even, more than 100 gig. But On average, in my house, we stream 2 televisions, 4K and HD, as well as hold multiple Zoom meetings and work in the evenings. And on Comcast, we average about a terabyte of data.
Mr. Thomas, you have your hand raised?
Yes, as a matter of fact, thank you, Jason. I wanted to ask, and I know you're not the sales rep for Starlink, but I wanted to ask if anybody had heard of people getting access to Starlink recently and when they first applied. And the reason I ask is you applied about a year ago, and I have some people that applied about the same time, and they have not gotten any confirmation about a activation date. So anybody get it lately, and when did they apply?
I have not heard of anybody getting it lately. I installed a Starlink over at one of my friend's house a couple weeks back, but they had already purchased it. They just had it screwed onto their back deck, and we did put it up in the air to get them above some obstructions. But Jason, I have not heard of anybody getting it recently.
Jason, yeah, we have shared contact on Reedy Mill Road who received their kit just in the last month.
Oh, okay.
He ordered, right behind you. You might have been number one. He was, number 3 or something.
Okay. I'd forgotten about him.
My understanding is until the hexagon that you're in or octagon you're in is enabled, in my talking with them, and you won't get notified. And most people are being told first quarter of 23, fiscal year 23.
Yeah, one of the people that I talked to, I'm trying to think. I think I talked to them about, last week. I think their account still said summer or mid 2022. And they were saying, well, we are kind of in mid 2022 right now. When is that going to switch over? So I know that's kind of the game I was in last year. It said mid 2021, then it said by the end of 2021, then it moved to mid 2022. And finally, I got the email sometime, I want to say April, if I remember correctly, something like that. So it's rolling out, but not as fast as what they would consider. Now, there is an alternative that if anybody wants to get it right now, there is the RV program, which is immediate access to high speed, low latency internet as needed basis, where Starlink provides active coverage. So if you're going to be traveling or anything like that, and you would like to get Starlink, you can put in the address of where you're going to be traveling to and see whether Starlink is available there. And you can order the RV version of the Starlink to be able to use while you're out traveling around. They also have it on ships too, but that is on boats, but that is a much higher cost for the actual hardware.
And I think this is a case, Jason, where they're overly optimistic about their dates, because I think a lot of us in the middle of the county thought it would be 2022, and that date's kind of floating out further. So I just wanted to make sure folks that are listening know that it's still coming, but be patient.
I will say, I think the estimated dates that they're giving now are probably more accurate than they were 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you have a date that's saying mid 2023, you stand a pretty good chance of getting it at that point or prior to that. Whereas before they kept rolling the dates. I think there's a little bit less of that going on from what I've seen.
Yeah, and unfortunately, looking at the map available on starlink.com/map, all of the Richmond area, Bowling Green area, basically almost the entire East Coast is on a waiting list right now There's one section out towards Stanton to Craigsville, West Virginia, that currently says coming soon. And there's a place up in DC that says coming soon, but everything else around us is wait list. All right. Any other questions? Sorry to take up so much time, but there's just a bunch of information around that. All right, David, you want to give an update on the Vati 2023 process?
Yes, sir. So Vati 2023, we're getting down to the wire now. The application is due next Thursday. Both applications are in draft form and have been provided to the partners for final review this week. We have long meetings scheduled for early next week to do hopefully resolve any deficiencies that we find in it as we read over the application, and then they would be submitted next Thursday. So both full applications have been uploaded. We're in the process. There's just a few letters of support, things like that we're finalizing now. A lot of those have been uploaded. So we're in pretty good shape as far as the application, far better off than we were last year because we've actually had time to work through this thing and make changes, whereas last year it was really rushed to try to get both applications in. And that was due a lot to the change in the process midstream to where they started requiring the universal coverage, and we were scrambling to try to get something qualified, whereas this year we've known that's the case the whole time, and so we've been working towards that goal from the very time. So as of right now, with both applications being in rough draft and provided to all the partners, Verizon continues to provide the information that we need. That's a very positive thing. BreezeLine has been extremely cooperative and worked with us extremely well from the very beginning, even in early July last year when we had the work session with the boards, with a couple of the board members present, where BreezeLine said, hey, if you need us to do the county, we can do the county. So they've been very upfront and working extremely hard to expand coverage. So I remain very optimistic at this point, and we'll continue to work on it. And I think we're in really good shape. Both partners increased tremendously by about 40 or 50% of what over, or I would say 4 to 5 times what is required is their contributions. The county continues to hold their contributions, so at a good amount. So I think it ends up being like 13-14% for the county on average, and probably an average of 55% between the two partners. So our ask to Vati is much lower this time, which hopefully will increase one of the key numbers, the cost benefit index number, which is a hard number that's dependent on the cost of the project, the number of users, and the ask from Vati. So what they do is they take those 3 figures, figure out a number, and then they compare you to the rest of the applications. And where you fall in with the rest of the applications determines how many points you get for that area. It's very confusing. For example, when we were going through the process of reviewing the RFP, we had total project cost, we had number of passings, and we had an estimated contribution from the county and a contribution from the provider, so we could figure that part of it. But because we didn't have any other applications to compare it to, our actual cost benefit index number remains unknown. So that's an unknown, but the factors that we can control, we're in a good place. So appreciate all the hard work from everybody on this committee. And Jason and Jason, you guys have been a huge help. In fact, tonight, what we're going to do later on in the agenda is discuss an updated version of the plan for universal coverage. As with any plan, the situation changes year to year. So security plans, any kind of major plan you have, comprehensive plan for the county is just another example. Situation changes, it needs to be reviewed and if necessary updated. So that's what we're going to do tonight. You guys got some information last time, but that'll be coming up a little bit later. Other than that, is there any questions from anybody about Vati 2023? All right, Jason, I think that's it.
Yep. All right, and that's all the old business that we have. We'll move over to the new business. Do you want to go ahead and discuss about the adoption of the plan for universal coverage? Do you want to pull up that document, David? Perfect.
All right, so thanks to a lot of hard work with Jason Jacobus and Jason Barlow, I kind of asked for some help from you guys on this part because I'm in the midst of trying to get the last stuff together for the application itself. But they've provided a copy of the plan for universal coverage. This will be version 2, so it's not doing away with the old, but just an updated version. So if you look back at the earlier plan for universal coverage in the strategic plan, we were at that point identifying the type of technology that we wanted to use, or at least the type of technology that we wanted to recommend using. Now that we have 2 partners that we've partnered with that would provide universal coverage, and they both are fiber to the home, at this point, really a lot of that stuff becomes unnecessary to put in our plan for universal coverage. So at that point, we can update the plan for universal coverage, clean it up. This committee, if you guys feel confident enough to adopt this tonight, it would take a motion and second and then vote. We could adopt it tonight and include it in our application as being adopted by the Broadband Advisory Committee. And eventually, probably at the next meeting, would go to the board for board approval. So we do need to kind of look through it, make sure that everything is accurate, and that, we don't see any changes, because we want to send a good, clean document to the full board for its consideration as well. Jason Jacobus, do you want to read through this? I can scroll down for you and read through it, since it's kind of your one of your projects.
Yeah, sure. The original intent was just to update the first version, and when I got to reading it and I thought about all the things that have corresponded in the last year, I said, let's go ahead and do a full rewrite. So so we took some language from the old one and also came up with some new language. So right here is Caroline County's plan for universal coverage as developed and approved by the Caroline Broadband Advisory Committee. In August of 2020, Caroline Broadband Advisory Committee adopted a strategic plan which outlined the guidelines that it would use to guide future discussions involving broadband. The goal is to extend affordable broadband internet service access to every resident and business in the county who lacks access to broadband. Caroline County comprises approximately 549 square miles and has approximately 30,000 residents. The estimated cost of expanding broadband to all unserved citizens of Caroline County is nearly $29 million. Currently, Caroline County has committed $4.5 million to support the expansion of broadband. The county and the committee recognize the physical and fiscal challenges of deploying broadband in rural areas and had previously leveraged Vati grants to financially support a public-private partnership to deploy segments of internet service throughout the county with existing internet service providers. Due to the expansion of Vati funding for 2022 and the state's desire to realize universal coverage for every county in the state, the committee quickly adapted the updated Vati proposal requirements for universal coverage. Due to demand and other factors, Caroline County Vati 2022 proposal ultimately was not awarded. And that's a link to the Vati awards for last year and the map and some of those selections there. Okay, go ahead, zoom back in there a little bit for me. Despite the setback, the plan for universal coverage remains the same for the current round of Vati funding. The county will form a public-private partnership with internet service providers that are committed to complete the work within the anticipated timeframes required by DHCD under the Vati grant program. I fixed that strike through in the master copy. Additionally, the Caroline County Broadband Advisory Committee completed a request for proposal in order to select the best partner for all unserved addresses west of 95. This will ensure that there will be no gaps that would potentially prevent Caroline County from being awarded the Vati funding. Caroline has partnered with Verizon for this project area. Thanks to the willingness of BreezeLine, formerly Atlantic Broadband, to partner with Caroline County to provide coverage for all unserved locations east of 95, the Broadband Advisory Committee decided to prioritize the Dawn area, then followed by Woodford and Corbin. Sparta Central Point is covered in BreezeLine's awarded RDOF funding. Additionally, BreezeLine has pledged $11.6 million to complete coverage of all areas east of 95. The Eastern Area Plan for Universal Coverage is defined and attached in the Caroline County project area map. Thank you. I make a motion we submit this to the board for approval and work towards this going forward for the next year.
I would second that motion.
Question.
Hey, David, I have a question.
This will be submitted with our application.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr.
Go ahead,
C.
Jeff.
You know, when they talk about Sparta and Central Point, at one point they were talking about actually coming all the way down Sparta Road and across 630 all the way over to 17 to help them with Essex. Do we know how they're going to handle that now?
It's my understanding, Mr. Seeley, that the original plan was to go straight through Sparta, straight down, I guess, 630, where that goes straight, 721 goes off to the right, all the way through to their existing plant over at the Tappahannock Airport. But they did acquire, I believe from Comcast, if I'm not mistaken, they acquired a lot down around St. Stephen's Church. So in the midst of all their planning, that was moved to go down to follow Route 721 down to Central Garage. And so that's their plan. So that area has been awarded RDOF, so it would fall in with the rest of the RDOF awarded areas.
Do we know when that even starts?
It's going to depend on the success of this application. So RDOF, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund from the federal government, gave out the award to BreezeLine. When they made the award, BreezeLine had 6 years to complete that project. They have to, I think, 40% within the first 3 years after the award. And the final award still has not been, they still haven't completed all the paperwork. However, starting, I think in 2020 or 2021, if you had an area that was awarded RDOF funding, you could include that in Vati and speed up the process. So by including the RDOF money, the money from RDOF to help subsidize this project, the entire project. Now, this is where there's a lot of misinformation out there that, we definitely want to be clear about. Because of the size of this project, we're talking, 4,000 plus homes just on the east side. And because it is included in RDOF, that project will actually probably take about 3 years to complete. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be 3 years before they start seeing construction. I would dare venture that a lot of these areas will be started at the same time. However, Breezeline has prioritized Dawn area being first, Woodford being second, and then the RDOF area would be third. So that's the best we can do. And again, all that is dependent on us being successful in this grant.
Okay.
Without the grant, they would be looking at about 6 years probably. With the grant, they would be looking at probably closer to 4.5 for everybody in the entire county to be served. And that's on the east side. Because the project is smaller and there's less construction to do. On the west side, Verizon is expecting to be completed in the standard 12 to 18 months after award. So the timeline's not that much longer on the east side. It's just a lot larger area and a lot more rural area. So there's a lot of miles of fiber that has to go into that project in order to complete that project. So it's going to take some time, but if they continue to move along like they are moving in Vati 2021, I see no reason at this point to question that they will get it finished either on time or ahead of schedule. The one caveat to that being, this project will sign contracts and start about the time that the $700 million from last year just in this state, and that's only this state, but it's all across the nation, will start into construction phase. So I dare say that the supply chain issues that we're experiencing now will probably get worse. But all we can do is speculate that may be a problem. But at this point, the projected timelines, if we're successful, would be 3 years after signing the contract. Awards would be announced later this year or early 2023. Once the awards are announced, then you go into negotiation phase with the contracts. That generally takes about 6 months for the contract between Caroline County and Breezeline and Caroline County and Verizon to be agreed to by those parties, and then it goes to the Attorney General for the state for his approval. And last year, that approval took several months in the 2021 cycle. Of course, we don't know how long it's taken in 2022, but it takes a couple months for the Attorney General to go through the contracts and enter into those contracts on behalf of DHCD. Once those contracts are signed, the clock starts at that point. And so at that point, once the contracts are signed, you're looking at probably approximately 12 to 18 months for the smaller project, probably 3 to 3.5 years for the larger project.
Okay.
I know, and just talking with different citizens, and I will say, the reception that we're getting for the broadband inquiry form has been extremely positive. We're getting people asking really good questions. And the one trend I see is, wow, that's a long ways away, but I can tell you that the timeline for 2021 is rolling, and while it is a ways off, at least, if we're approved, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, yeah, without approval, you're nowhere.
Yeah, that's why we're working hard and again, I appreciate the efforts of the citizens of Caroline that are taking the time to sign that online petition. It's not we did not put that petition out. No one with the county did. That was a citizen generated petition, but the signatures are over 800. I'm hoping that by the time we submit the application, we'll have 1,000 signatures on that. So again, that helps. That shows the state that it's not just a project that no one knows about. We're trying to engage the citizens and let them know any way possible that we're working hard.
Okay, I'm good. That was all I was looking for.
All right, well, we have a proper motion. We have a proper second. Any more conversation about it or any more questions? All right, so we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of adopting the plan for universal coverage as written, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, the plan has been adopted. That'll be the one that'll go into our Vati 2023, and will go to the board for their next meeting to also be adopted. All right, David, do you want to take a few minutes and go over the Broadband event?
Yep, so we've got to save the date for you. We've reserved the community center auditorium for October 22nd. That's the weekend between the Harvest Festival and the Frog Level Parade. And we have it from 2 to 5, a 3-hour window on Saturday. This will be a hybrid event, so we'll be allowing people to watch it on the live stream, attend it via Zoom. If they have questions, they'll be able to submit those questions as well as show up at the auditorium. So we hope to get the word out now that we have a final, we have a date, we can start advertising that. The intention of this would be to bring the citizens up to speed on the progress of Vati 2023, the progress of Vati 2021, also just to discuss the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP, and what that means to our citizens. So how a lot of our citizens will be able to qualify based on having a student in Caroline County Public Schools for a $30 credit on their internet. Now, again, that program is not for people who don't have service. If you're currently in a service area, you would qualify. As the service area grows, and if this ACP program stays around, it would be available to more and more of our citizens as we go along. So we'll have a good discussion from that. We hope to have a couple of company representatives from Comcast from the west side, as well as Breezeline from the east side, to discuss the ACP program. My goal would be to have some laptops there with some broadband advisory committee members there to help people actually go on the website and pre-qualify for that credit. Once they go on the website and pre-qualify for the credit, they'll be given a number. They call up their internet service provider, give them that number, and the credit is applied to their account on a monthly basis. So it's a fairly simple process, but we do understand the challenges of getting on the website and doing the qualification steps if the only internet that you have is on cell phone. So that would be our intention, and we will have some meetings and some work sessions to discuss the actual agenda, in more detail, and we'll keep everyone on this committee informed. We needed to get the date because the school system has been a really good partner with us trying to get the word out. So, you know, we want to get a date and a time so we can get that information to them. So we're excited about it. I think it'll be an opportunity for us to answer questions that the citizens have. And again, gauging from the response of the broadband inquiry form on the website, there are a lot of questions out there. And based on watching some of the responses or answers or experts on social media, there's a lot of misinformation given out there. So hopefully this will be an opportunity for us to answer questions to the best of our knowledge and accurately, so we can hopefully dispel some of the misinformation that's out there. Are there any questions about this opportunity coming up?
Yeah, David, I think this is going to be a good opportunity for not only the broadband committee, but also have the partners in Caroline County that are available to our citizens to also be there to represent and answer questions also. So thank you for reserving that, and we'll continue to work towards getting that all squared away, and try and line up people to be there from this broadband committee to help out on that day. All right. We don't need to vote on that, correct, David? Or are we good on that?
We're good on that. We don't need a vote, but I guess you noticed me sharing and unsharing or shrinking the screen. The reason why I have to do that is, for whatever reason, when Zoom is sharing my screen, I lose the ability to be able to scroll unless I unshare for a second. So
nice.
The reason why I've been moving around a little bit tonight. It wasn't picking on Jason Jacobus by trying to shrink the screen and making it impossible for him to read.
I thought that was a good eye test for him.
I know I lost it. I couldn't begin to see it. So again, thank you all for your hard work. I'm happy that we got that updated plan for universal coverage tonight, and that we will include a copy of that with the application. There's a couple of blanks on the rough or on the final draft that's been shared. A couple of blanks as far as the date that this activity will be completed. So we'll be able to fill in those blanks and strengthen the application.
Well, and the good thing is, by the next time that we meet, which is the next thing we need to talk about, is the next meeting. We are looking at September 19th as our next date, and we will have already submitted our 2023 grant by that date. So do we want to say September 20 or September 19th, 2022 at the same time, 7 o'clock?
Sounds good to me. Mr. Seeley, Mr. Thomas, we don't have another board meeting between now and next Thursday, correct?
That is correct. And I was just thinking that you should ask Mr. Cully to poll the board for approval of the document.
All right.
You can have approval of the document by the board to submit with the application rather than say it's pending.
All right. I will work on that tomorrow, and we'll get that taken care of. I appreciate your input, and I really do appreciate the effort that you and Mr. Seeley both have put forth, and the support that this committee has gotten from you guys as well as the rest of the board.
We want broadband as much as the rest of the county does, that's for sure.
Hey, one more new piece of new business.
Yeah, we can take it.
The Caroline County Public Schools have reached out, and I was on the receiving end of that from my involvement with Reedy Church Virgin Club and the Wi-Fi trailer that's placed at Reedy Church Virgin Club. Brian Farmer, coordinator of technology for Caroline County Public Schools, reached out and said that the grant had been extended for another year to July 1st, 2023. So he was asking for those with trailers on their, publicly accessible properties. Would they be willing to keep it for another year? Our organization voted yes. I don't know about the others, but apparently that's going on. So that's a good thing for those who make use of it. But I would defer to Joey or someone else from the school system for more on that.
Yeah, and Joey is not here tonight. I would imagine he's up to his neck in the first day of school. So
no kidding, yeah.
Our thoughts and prayers are out with you, Joey. We appreciate everything you do for the committee, and I know that it's a very challenging day for you guys. So best of luck.
All right. We're hearing nothing else. If everybody's okay with it, September 19th, 7 o'clock, same channel, same, I guess we just want to continue to use Zoom for right now.
Yes, sir. I think so for now. We're seeing a slight spike in infections right now, so I don't think now would be any time to back off from that. But I guess you could say same bat time, same bat channel.
There you go. That'll work. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All that want to stay a little bit longer, same sign.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.